Let me tell you a little about the history of Hilton Head Island. Hilton Head Island is the second largest barrier island on the East Coast and the home of many plantation and enslaved people before the Civil War. The Union Army occupied Hilton Head Island during the Civil War, and in 1862, before the war ended and prior to the Emancipation Proclamation, the first town was formed by newly freed people. It was named Mitchellville. The citizens of Mitchellville set up their own government, schools, home, economics, and returned to bury family members and tend to their cemeteries located on former plantation land. The descendants of Mitchellville still lives on the island today and are commonly referred to as Gullah. Through the development of Hilton Head Island, Gullah family thrives and held on to these cemeteries. In October 2016, Hurricane Matthew, the first major hurricane to make landfall on Hilton Head Island in over 100 years, demolished and devastated the island and the Gullah cemeteries. Not even a year later, in September 2017, Hurricane Irma hit the island, causing even more damages to this already devastated community and cemeteries.
Back in 2016, when Matthew came through, Matthew touched and destroyed just about, well, basically every black historian cemetery in the area. Jake organized groups. Even after that, he organized groups of the Cub Scouts, and we did like Saturday cleanup. That's tall, but we did Saturday cleanup of this cemetery, Spanish Well Cemetery. There's one further down in Hilton Head Plantation. And it's good when people that live together can work together and do things to help each other. Because if we don't, then we're not gonna survive. But we all come together when it's time to come together, and that's what makes things work.
After the storm, the cemetery was in desperate need of some help, and as a young Boy Scout, Jake asked, was there something he could do, or could he take on part of the cleaning as a project for the Scouts? Jake helped with the removal of some trees, some stumps, trimmed up some palmetto tree branches, hauled off a lot of debris, some old tires.
And so when we looked at all of the trees that were down, the devastation throughout the cemeteries, there was limited resources to be able to pay tribute and honor the descendants of the Gullah people here in our community. And that's where Jake Lopko came in. He organized all kinds of resources, all kinds of people to help with the effort. He removed all the trees, he cut back the brush, he restored some of the stones that had been knocked over. And today what you see is a real honor to our community, to the Gullah people in particular, and I think Jake has done a fabulous job of being an incredible example of goodness, kindness, compassion in our community, specifically to the Gullah community, but I think in what he demonstrated is how we should all be treating each other.
This is my family cemetery. I'm standing between my grandmother, Maggie Dreesen, and my grandfather, Willie Dreesen. I grew up here, and like I said, the entire cemetery is my family cemetery. All of us that's in our Amelia White family is buried in here. Jake and the Eagle Scouts, the job that they did here and helping us to clean and maintain the cemetery. They help us to remove trees. They put up the sign to dedicate and to let people that come here know that the name of the cemetery is Amelia White.
My project was saving Gullah cemeteries, which included 4 cemeteries that were devastated by Hurricanes Matthew and Irma. I wanted to help the Gullah community and ensure they will continue to have access to visit their ancestors that are buried at these cemeteries. I organized 8 work days, brought together over 80 volunteers that spent over 400 volunteer hours to complete this project. My project included tree trimming and removal, stump grinding, vegetation trimming and removal, planting wax myrtles for erosion control, trash pickup, filling in large holes that were left behind when trees fell over, replacement of American flags, cleaning off grave sites, installing a sign that identifies each cemetery as a historic Gullah cemetery. In order to complete my project, I used a GoFundMe page that raised over $2,000 to pay for the construction of the signs. I also had businesses donate over $10,000 worth of services and materials to contribute to the completion of my project. My project benefits not only the Gullah community and Hilton Head Island, but the entire nation by bringing awareness to a culture that dates back to before the Civil War.
I am a native resident of Hilton Head Island of 3 generations. We certainly hope that what the Boy Scouts have done to help with the cemetery effort will encourage all families that see this to take a positive interest and do what they can financially, as well as other means that they might have to be helpful to protect, to preserve the cemeteries and the land that they have, or we have collectively on Hilton Head Island. And we thank Jake's parents for encouraging Jake to do the positive things that he's doing.
As Jake's mom, I wanted to share my pride in the accomplishments of my son, not just for the project that he did, but for the manner in which he did it and the things that have come because of that project. There is an initiative to put the signs in the rest of the Gullah cemeteries on the island. There are 6 more cemeteries that the churches and the town would like to see the historic Gullah cemetery signs installed in those. So the Boy Scout troop is fundraising for those and will install those once they have the funding. There's a Facebook page called Hilton Head Island Native Islander Cemeteries to try to keep people informed as to what's going on to the cemeteries, to bring awareness to them, and to make sure they're not forgotten. And all of this came because of an Eagle Scout project from my son. So I cannot express the pride that I have in him for what he chose as a project, as a difficult project, and he accomplished with great effort.
We just really appreciate Jake. He's a very good kid and a very caring kid, and always willing to work.
Working with the young man, Jake, it's been a pleasure in all the things that he's helping us to do.
Over these last 3 or 4 or 5 years that I've had the pleasure of knowing him.
We really, really appreciate all of the hours. I have no idea how many hours you, your family, as well as all of your friends who are Boy Scouts put in. But I've enjoyed working with all of you. Now, my time growing up on the island, a part of our early responsibilities used to be working with the adults in doing some of what you and the Boy Scouts did. But things have changed so much on Hilton Head over the years until that does not happen anymore, or is not happening with the younger generation.
Hi, my name is Jake Lopko. I'm from Troop 245 on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina.
In the Lowcountry, 4 historic cemeteries are in better shape tonight thanks to the efforts of the Hilton Head Boy Scouts.